Have you ever walked into a room and felt your energy shift the moment someone spoke? That subtle tension in your chest, the sinking feeling that no matter what you do, someone is determined to make things harder. Not because of anything you've done, but because they feed off conflict, control, and chaos. Why do some people act like jerks? And more importantly, why do they seem to get away with it? Whether it's the arrogant boss who belittles you in meetings, the co-worker who cloaks insults in fake smiles, or the friend who drains your peace with every interaction, they all have one thing in common. They test your character, and if you're not prepared, they can make you forget who you are. But here's the truth. You don't need to fight them. You need to outsmart them. In this video, we explore a Stoic approach to dealing with difficult people. No shouting, no games, just clear strategy, calm strength, and inner control. Because the real power isn't in silencing jerks. It's in making sure they never disturb your peace again. Stay with me. What you learn here might just protect your mind more than you realize. 1. The strategist in the chaos. Before you learn to outsmart toxic people, you need to understand the man who devoted his life to studying them. Not from a distance, but up close, in the heat of conflict, inside organizations where chaos reigns and civility feels like a memory. Robert Sutton isn't just a Stanford professor with a few fancy titles. He's a thinker forged in the fire of dysfunction, a mind sharpened by years spent examining what happens when good people are forced to work alongside chronic jerks. Most scholars observe from afar. Sutton steps into the mess. He's been embedded in the very environments most people flee from: broken teams, hostile managers, backstabbing peers. But instead of turning cynical, he turned curious. Why do toxic people rise? Why do they often succeed? And more importantly, how can we protect ourselves without becoming like them? He didn't answer these questions with empty theory. Sutton's work is a blend of science and battle-tested insight, infused with just enough dry humor to remind us that we're not crazy for wanting to throw our coffee mugs across the room sometimes. His book, The No Asshole Rule, is less of a business manual and more of a survival guide. And it doesn't whisper. It tells the truth most people are too polite to say out loud. But here's the part that matters most for us. Sutton doesn't just diagnose the problem. He equips you with clarity and tactics. He teaches you how to spot a jerk, how to deal with them strategically, and how to guard your own peace of mind so you don't slowly turn into one. Because here's the thing. If you spend enough time in a toxic culture without a strategy, you either leave or you rot with it. His research shows that jerks aren't just annoying, they're contagious. When incivility goes unchecked, it spreads like mold. Good people start snapping, leaders stop listening, even high performers begin to check out. And one day you wake up and realize that you've become the very thing you used to hate, but you don't have to let that happen. What makes Sutton's message so powerful is that he doesn't glorify revenge or advocate confrontation for its own sake. He's not telling you to raise your voice or prove yourself in some grand showdown. Instead, he teaches something more subtle, more stoic. He invites you to reclaim your power by understanding that mastery doesn't mean domination. It means refusing to let someone else's dysfunction become your identity. Let's bring that into a Stoic light. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That's the core of Sutton's philosophy. Jerks may bait you, but you have the power to decide what enters your soul. You don't need to win their approval. You don't even need to change them. You need to hold the line of your own values with discipline, calmness, and precision. And that's exactly what Sutton offers, a map for holding that line, a way to keep your dignity intact in an environment designed to strip it from you. One of the most important lessons in his work is the distinction between momentary survival and long-term resilience. Anyone can get through a bad meeting. But how do you get through a bad year? Or worse, a toxic boss who controls your future? This is where his strategies shine. Sutton reminds us that the cost of staying in a toxic culture isn't just stress or burnout. It's erosion. Slowly, invisibly, your sense of self starts to decay. You rationalize, you absorb blame that isn't yours, you begin to accept dysfunction as normal. That's how good people lose themselves. Not in one dramatic moment, but through 1,000 small compromises. The Stoics warned us about this. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." If your environment is making you bitter, restless, or afraid to speak the truth, you're not being improved. You're being hollowed out. Sutton gives us the tools to stop that process. He hands us strategies to defend our attention, our time, and our inner strength. He also makes it clear that walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes the strongest move is leaving. Not out of emotion, but because staying would be a betrayal of your principles. The Stoics called this living according to nature. Not nature as trees and animals, but nature as alignment with your reason, values, and purpose. If your workplace crushes those things, you don't owe it loyalty. You owe yourself liberation. Sutton's writing doesn't offer false hope. He won't tell you that you can turn every toxic situation around. He respects your intelligence too much for that. What he offers is something far more useful. Clarity. You will meet jerks. You will encounter systems that reward cruelty. You may not always be able to change them, but you can always choose how you show up, how you respond, and what parts of yourself you refuse to give away. That is Stoic power. And in Sutton's world, it's also strategic power. Because when you stop reacting impulsively and start responding wisely, you gain an edge most people never discover. You become less predictable, less emotionally hijacked. You learn to see patterns others miss. You rise above the noise without needing to shout. So, yes, the world may feel overrun by difficult people. But with the right mindset, you don't just endure them, you outmaneuver them. And in the next part, we'll explore the first essential strategy Sutton shares for dealing with these people without losing your mind. Stay with me, it only gets sharper from here. 2. Know what weakens you. What truly makes someone a jerk? Not just someone having a bad day or a person whose style doesn't quite match yours. Robert Sutton gives us a much clearer definition. A jerk is someone who consistently makes others feel demeaned, degraded, or downtrodden. Not once or twice, but regularly, intentionally, habitually. These people aren't just difficult, they're damaging. Their presence disrupts the atmosphere of a room. They suck the energy from teams, crush the morale of entire departments, and slowly poison the well of trust that people rely on to do good work together. And they do it in many ways. Some are loud and aggressive. Others smile while they undermine you. They're not always easy to spot because their behavior can be wrapped in charm, masked by false concern, or hidden behind corporate buzzwords. But the result is the same. After every interaction, you walk away feeling smaller. Picture that coworker who loudly criticizes others for tiny mistakes in public, yet disappears when something goes wrong that actually matters. Or the manager who piles their workload onto you and calls it a growth opportunity, even as your own tasks pile up. Or the friend who makes you feel like a burden for asking for help, but calls you selfish if you ever say no. These are not small annoyances. These are patterns of power used without conscience. And here's where it gets tricky. What one person finds unbearable, another may brush off. Jerks don't come in standard forms. They don't wear warning labels. One person might laugh off sarcasm that leaves you feeling cut open. Another might feel drained by a conversation you found energizing. That's why Sutton teaches something essential. You must learn to trust your own internal thresholds. Because only you know what feels right, what feels tolerable, and what crosses the line into harm. The Stoics understood this intimately. They didn't believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. They believed in observing reality, in listening to how the world moves through you. As Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." That doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means studying it, understanding what it's telling you, letting it guide you toward clarity, not confusion. When it comes to dealing with jerks, your first line of defense isn't confrontation. It's recognition. Before you can respond, you must first understand what you're experiencing. And to do that, you must develop an awareness of how certain people make you feel, not just in the moment, but over time. Ask yourself, do I feel smaller after this interaction? Do I feel like I have to explain or justify myself constantly? Do I find myself dreading conversations with this person, even when nothing is technically wrong? These are red flags, not just of personality conflicts, but of deeper dysfunction. Jerks thrive in ambiguity. They rely on you second-guessing your intuition. The moment you start rationalizing their behavior, maybe I'm being too sensitive, maybe they're just under pressure, is the moment you begin handing over your power. Let me give you a story. There was a woman named Rachel who worked on a cross-functional team in a large company. One of her colleagues, Dan, was technically brilliant but socially corrosive. In meetings, he'd interrupt constantly, correct others mid-sentence, and roll his eyes whenever someone offered a suggestion he didn't like. He never raised his voice. He never swore. But his presence carried an edge that silenced creativity. Rachel noticed she began to censor herself. She'd rewrite emails 3 times before sending them. She stopped offering new ideas. She wasn't afraid of conflict. She was afraid of being dismissed. One day, after Dan belittled a junior teammate in front of the group, Rachel spoke up. Not with anger, but with clarity. I've noticed that feedback is often given in a way that shuts people down rather than lifts the team up. It makes collaboration difficult. The room went quiet. But something shifted. Other teammates reached out privately to thank her, and over the following weeks, the dynamic began to shift. Slowly, but surely. What Rachel did wasn't just brave, it was stoic. She identified the pattern. She honored her threshold, and she chose to act not in reaction, but in alignment with her values. This is what recognizing the jerk spectrum allows you to do. It gives you language for what's happening. It shows you that you're not imagining things, that what you're feeling isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And here's something important to remember. Jerks often test boundaries because they're looking for the ones that won't push back. When you begin to see them clearly, you stop playing their game. You stop trying to win them over. And you start reclaiming space, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. It doesn't mean cutting people off at the first sign of friction. Stoicism is not hypersensitivity, it's discernment. You give people grace, yes, but not infinite grace that allows them to harm others unchecked. You offer patience, but not at the cost of your dignity. You observe the pattern, you name it, and you decide what to do with it based on principle, not pride. That's real strength. And here's a quiet but powerful practice you can start today. Take a moment after your next interaction with someone who regularly drains you. Sit with it. Ask yourself, what part of me shrinks in their presence? Is it my voice, my confidence, my creativity? The part that shrinks is the part they're targeting, whether consciously or not. That's your signal. Then choose one small shift. Maybe it's saying no when you usually say yes. Maybe it's speaking second instead of waiting silently. Maybe it's just deciding not to take their words personally and watching how that changes your posture. Over time, those small shifts become armor. Not the kind that makes you cold, but the kind that makes you whole again. If anything in this section resonates with you, drop the word threshold in the comments. It's a simple reminder that your boundaries are valid. And if you want to keep building the mindset that helps you stay grounded in difficult environments, consider sticking with us through the next part, because recognizing a jerk is only the beginning. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into the 5 most common archetypes, each one a different mask of the same behavior. Once you learn to see the patterns, you'll never be caught off guard again. Let's keep going. You're about to learn how to see through the chaos. 3. Patterns of the manipulative mind. If you've ever walked out of a meeting feeling drained, confused, or quietly angry without knowing exactly why, chances are you've just encountered someone running a play straight from what Robert Sutton calls the jerk playbook. These people aren't random. They follow patterns. And once you see those patterns clearly, it becomes almost impossible to unsee them. Let's start with one of the most common figures, the kiss-up, kick-down artist. This person is charm incarnate in front of their superiors, smiling, supportive, seemingly competent. But as soon as the door closes and the power dynamic flips, their demeanor changes. They belittle teammates, delegate blame, and act like authority entitles them to cruelty. It's like watching someone flip a switch depending on who's in the room. You may know someone like this already. Maybe you've had a boss who praised you in emails to their supervisor, but criticized your work relentlessly behind closed doors. Or perhaps it was a peer who made sure to volunteer your name for late-night work, then conveniently forgot to include you in the credit. Then there's the spotlight hog. You speak in a meeting, share an idea, and before your sentence finishes, they're already talking, louder, more animated, pretending they just had a breakthrough. Their name is always at the top, their face always at the center. It's not collaboration they seek. It's domination of attention. Over time, it doesn't matter how insightful your contributions are. They'll find a way to make it look like it came from them. And now we meet the gaslighter, arguably the most psychologically corrosive of them all. This one doesn't shout. They subtly rewrite reality. They'll say one thing on Tuesday, deny it by Friday, and when you bring it up, they'll look you in the eye and say you're imagining things. Slowly, they make you question your memory, your instincts, even your confidence. They chip away at your sense of truth until you begin editing yourself just to keep the peace. These people don't just make your work harder, they make your mind harder to trust. Let's not forget the credit stealer. This one is especially prevalent in competitive environments. They have a radar for recognition, and they move fast. You've spent hours refining a proposal, staying late, double-checking details, only for them to swoop in during the presentation and speak first. They frame the work as a joint effort. They use "we" to mask "me," and the people in charge often don't even realize it. You're left applauding from the shadows while someone else stands in your light. And finally, the micromanager. This isn't just someone with high standards. This is someone who confuses control with competence. They don't delegate, they dominate. You can't move a step without approval. They rewrite your emails, hover over your screen, and create a climate of suspicion rather than trust. Their presence makes every task feel heavier, not because the task is hard, but because their grip on it is suffocating. Creativity dies, motivation withers, and even simple wins feel hollow. All these types might seem different at first glance, but they have something in common. Each one operates from insecurity, disguised as authority. Their behavior is not about you, it's about their need to feel bigger, even if that means making others feel small. And once you understand that, something shifts. You stop internalizing. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "Why is this person so afraid of being ordinary?" Now let me share a quick example. A woman named Lena once worked under a manager who checked every box in this playbook. He micromanaged her projects, questioned every detail, but never offered clarity. When her team won an industry award, he accepted it without mentioning her name. Worse, when she once defended a junior colleague from his harsh critique, he quietly turned the executive team against her, framing her as emotional and uncooperative. At first, Lena doubted herself. Maybe she was too sensitive. Maybe she did need to stay quiet and just do her job. But then she began documenting, not just his actions, but how they made her feel. She reread her own email drafts, looked at timestamps, and slowly began to see the pattern with clear eyes. That's the power of naming the behavior. When you identify the pattern, you interrupt the spell. You realize you're not broken, you're being manipulated. And from that realization comes strength, not loud, explosive strength, but steady, deliberate strength rooted in awareness. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury," and that's your Stoic armor here. The goal isn't to mirror the JERKS tactics, it's to see them without being swallowed by them. You learn to watch calmly, you start managing your energy instead of trying to change someone who has no intention of growing. If any of these archetypes sound familiar, let me know in the comments with a simple word: spotlight, gaslight, or micromanage, whichever hit closest to home. And if you want more content like this, take a moment to subscribe so you never miss the next insight that could change how you see the game. Because recognizing these patterns isn't about cynicism, it's about freedom. You don't rise by tearing others down, you rise by seeing clearly and refusing to shrink. And that's what Sutton's work teaches us. JERKS may thrive in the short term, but you thrive for the long haul because you choose clarity over chaos. In the next part, we'll look at how to defend your energy without going to war, because sometimes the strongest move is silence, but only when it's rooted in strength, not fear. Let's keep going. This next shift is where your real power begins. 4. Win only what matters. There's a quiet kind of wisdom in knowing when not to react. In a world that teaches you to clap back, speak louder, defend your pride at every turn, it can feel almost unnatural to hold your tongue. But the truth is this: not every jerk deserves your energy. Not every conflict deserves a counterattack. And if you try to confront every injustice head-on, you'll end up exhausted, reactive, and no closer to peace. That's where Stoicism and Robert Sutton align perfectly. This is not about being passive. This is about being precise. You don't need to win every battle. You only need to win the ones that matter. Sutton offers a kind of internal compass, a strategic lens to help you decide when to step forward and when to step back. It starts with the most overlooked principle of all: context. What actually happened? Was this person lashing out in a rare moment of stress, or is this just who they are? Are you dealing with a bad day or a pattern of psychological erosion? Even the most grounded people slip. A missed word, a sharp tone, a passive remark made in a moment of pressure. That doesn't make someone a jerk. What defines a jerk is repetition, intentionality, the slow, grinding disrespect that creeps in again and again until it no longer feels like an exception. It feels like the air around you. Stoicism asks you to observe that pattern without emotional fog. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction doesn't need to be loud, but it does need to be rooted in reality. Look at the whole picture. Ask yourself, have they shown remorse? Do they even notice the harm they've caused? Is this an offhand mistake, or is this person slowly training others to accept cruelty as normal? The next consideration is power. This is the part few people want to talk about, because it forces you to confront the hierarchy of your environment. But Stoicism is built on clarity, not comfort. Who is this person to you? Are they your superior, your peer, or someone who has no real control over your path? If the person is in a position of power, your approach must be even more deliberate. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he still reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, don't measure your strength by how loud your retaliation is. Measure it by how much of your inner peace remains untouched. Take Jamie, a young associate at a law firm. Her supervisor, Daniel, was known for veiled insults disguised as feedback. He'd say things like, maybe you're just not sharp enough for this kind of pressure, or we'll keep giving you the easy stuff until you catch up. In front of others, he'd compliment her work, but behind closed doors, he chipped away at her confidence. She wanted to call him out, to send the fiery email. But she paused. Instead, she started keeping notes. Not for revenge, for clarity. For 6 months, she quietly documented every incident, every contradiction. She also started building alliances, colleagues who had similar experiences but didn't know what to do with them. Eventually, HR had a clear, undeniable pattern. Daniel was quietly moved out of a leadership role. Jamie never shouted. She never slammed a door. But she fought with precision. And she won. This brings us to the final principle: assess the damage. Sometimes a single moment leaves a scar. One conversation can echo in your mind for weeks, not because you're weak, but because the insult landed somewhere deep, maybe in an old wound, maybe in a place where your confidence still felt fragile. Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore that. It tells you to learn from it. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, but sometimes the reverse is true. We rationalize real suffering until we forget how much it's costing us. If one encounter is still draining you days later, if it's causing sleeplessness, anxiety, or self-doubt, then you need to act, not out of vengeance, but out of self-respect." This is where inner discipline comes in. Sutton isn't just helping you defend yourself. He's helping you build a filter for where your energy should go. You're not here to fight every insult, to teach every jerk a lesson. You're here to protect your mind, your time, your direction, and that means saying no to battles that don't serve you. So how do you decide? Pause before you respond. Take a breath. Ask 3 questions. Is this a pattern or a mistake? Is this person powerful enough to affect my future, or just loud enough to get under my skin? Is this worth the time, the energy, the emotional weight it will cost me? If the answer is no, walk on. Not out of fear, but out of principle. If the answer is yes, then prepare. Speak with clarity. Document your words. Stay calm, factual, and concise. The point is not to win the argument. The point is to shift the power dynamic back into balance. And if the system you're in refuses that balance, then you'll know it's time to leave the arena entirely. The Stoics believed in justice, but they also believed in detachment from outcome. You don't always get the apology, you don't always get recognition, but what you do get, what no one can take from you, is your discipline, your self-command, your quiet decision to choose your battles with honor. Because in the end, the strongest person in the room is not the one who reacts first. It's the one who chooses when to act and when to walk away. In the next part, we'll explore what it means to face not just one person, but an entire culture built on disrespect, and how to survive it without letting it shape who you are. Because if you can hold your ground when the system is rotten, you've already begun to win. Let's go deeper. The final test is ahead. 5. Stay whole in a broken system. Sometimes the problem isn't one person, it's the air you breathe. It's the way meetings are run, the way people talk about each other in hallways, the way fear walks louder than trust. There are workplaces, teams, entire institutions where toxicity isn't the exception, it's the rule. And when that happens, the issue isn't a single jerk. You're swimming in them. Robert Sutton doesn't pretend otherwise. He doesn't give false hope that you can fix everyone with kindness or that you can charm your way into a more respectful environment. No, he looks you in the eye and tells the hard truth. If you're stuck in a system where jerk behavior is rewarded, normalized, or ignored, you're not just in danger of burnout. You're in danger of becoming someone you don't recognize, because that's what these environments do. They change you. Even good people begin to armor up, to play the game, to get sharper, colder, more calculating, because that's the only way to survive. You stop asking what's right. You start asking what you can get away with. And eventually, the part of you that used to feel disgusted by injustice starts to feel numb instead. Sutton offers two paths. One is clear. One is complex. But both demand courage. The first is what he calls the nuclear option. Leave, walk away, quit. Not in a moment of rage, not without preparation, but with clarity. Sometimes that's the sanest, strongest thing you can do. And yet, it's also the most misunderstood. We're told to push through, to stay resilient, to prove our worth. But resilience without direction becomes self-sacrifice. You are not weak for leaving what poisons you. You are wise. Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Sometimes, leaving a toxic culture makes you look like the quitter, but that perception isn't your concern. Your concern is your soul, and if the environment you're in is killing your dignity, clarity, and joy, then what exactly are you fighting to preserve? Take Maya, a mid-level project lead at a media agency. For 2 years, she tolerated a culture of back-channel gossip, favoritism, and subtle sabotage. Promotions went to the loudest, not the most competent. Accountability was a punchline. She used to believe in her work. But slowly, her weekends became recovery time. Her confidence turned to self-doubt. One night, after being publicly undermined in front of a client by her director for the 3rd time, she opened her laptop and updated her resume. A month later, she was gone. Her co-workers were stunned. Some called her brave. Others called her impulsive. But Maya didn't care. She had peace. And more importantly, she still had herself. That's one option. But what if you can't leave? What if you need the job, the income, or the opportunity? Then, Sutton says, you must choose the second path. Get smart. Learn how to survive without becoming what you despise. This is not about hiding. It's about strategy. It's about remaining intact while the system tries to erode you. The first step is to stay sharp. That means knowing the tactics toxic people use and refusing to be pulled into their vortex. When someone gossips, withhold your agreement. When someone baits you with passive aggression, pause. Don't match their tone. Don't rise to it. Because the second you mirror their chaos, you've already lost the upper hand. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who caused the injury." In toxic systems, the most radical act is to remain grounded. The next step is to protect your emotional boundaries. That means deciding in advance what kind of behavior you will and won't allow. Not every disrespect needs a confrontation. But it does need a line. If someone speaks over you repeatedly, stop mid-sentence. Then calmly say, "I wasn't finished." If your ideas are routinely stolen or overlooked, document your contributions. Make your work visible, even if it means narrating your process in meetings. Not as a performance, but as protection. There's also the matter of emotional baiting. Jerks love to provoke. They thrive on getting a rise out of you, so don't feed them. When they make snide remarks, answer with silence or neutral responses. Not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. They want attention. What they hate is indifference wrapped in calm. This kind of presence takes training. It's not easy, especially when your instincts scream for justice. But the Stoics teach us that justice isn't a reaction, it's a posture, a way of being, and sometimes it means letting fools speak while you build your exit. But boundaries are not just emotional, they're logistical. Learn to limit your exposure. If meetings devolve into chaos, speak only when it adds value. Avoid the gossip loop. Skip the after-work drinks if they're filled with backbiting. Create mental distance. Think of yourself as a temporary visitor, not a permanent resident of this broken system. And never stop preparing your exit, even if it takes a year. Because survival isn't the end goal. Becoming who you were meant to be is. One of the most powerful strategies Sutton shares is this: speak up when it matters, but only when it counts. That means timing your feedback for impact. It means calling out dysfunction not in anger, but in clarity. A short, assertive statement lands better than a long emotional outburst. Say, "This isn't working. Here's what needs to change." Say it once. Say it calmly. Then observe. If you're met with curiosity or accountability, you've made progress. If you're met with gaslighting or punishment, you've confirmed your assessment of the system. And that confirmation is its own kind of freedom, because you now know you're not the problem, you're just in the wrong environment. This is where Sutton's wisdom and Stoic strength align. You don't need to save the whole company. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to preserve the one thing that can't be replaced: your clarity, your values, and your peace of mind. When you survive a toxic system without letting it infect your spirit, you've done something extraordinary. You've won without noise. You've endured without bitterness, and you've proved to yourself that no matter how broken the culture, you never had to break yourself to fit in. Now, as we prepare to close this journey, there's only one step left. Not tactics, not strategy, but a reflection on who you're becoming because of what you've endured. Let's finish strong. If you value calm thinking in a chaotic world, subscribe now and stay 2 steps ahead.